Streaming live across the country, tackling the topics everyone is talking about online. Share, engage, and interact. This is Newsfeed Now.
Good Wednesday morning, everybody. So glad you could join us for Newsfeed Now. I'm Suzanne Bruner. If you've been clicking into Newsfeed Now this week, we have been tracking Hurricane Laura, and this continues to be the big story, especially today. Hurricane Laura is rapidly gaining strength over the Gulf of Mexico, inching closer to the Gulf Coast. We're talking about powerful winds, heavy rain, expected to create life-threatening storm surge. We have team coverage right now. We're going to start with meteorologist Chris Cozart, who's been tracking the hurricane and its path. He joins us live from Lafayette, Louisiana. Chris, where is Laura now, and when will it make landfall?
Well, just bad news coming in all morning is how quickly Laura is intensifying. This is an ominous looking system now. Looking at the enhanced satellite, the center of rotation, Lafayette, Louisiana, which is about an hour west of Baton Rouge. It's about 200 miles south of that. The center of rotation still heading to the northwest, and the forecasted path is very similar to what we saw yesterday. However, the intensity has really changed. The visible satellite showing the monster that Laura is, and really seeing that now perfect wall or eye wall structure, which is further indication that we are seeing more intensification from this. And the reconnaissance aircraft have been flying through this all morning, and they've noticed how much the pressure has been falling. Winds now upwards of 125 miles per hour, so that puts it at Category 3 strength. Movement still to the northwest at 16 miles per hour. Pressure has now fallen all the way down to 956 millibars. As I took to the show this morning, it was upwards of 970 millibars, so we've dropped almost 20 millibars in a matter of a few hours. That's how quickly Hurricane Laura is intensifying. Now a major hurricane, Category 4 strength later on today with wind speeds at 145 miles per hour, but Category 5 is not out of the question now. As we get closer to the Gulf Coast, there will be a little bit of wind shear that should keep Laura at somewhat in check, but it will be too little too late. National Hurricane Center now issuing their storm surge advisory with the newest update at 10 a.m. Central Time, saying unsurvivable storm surge across parts of Cameron Parish.
Wow. So, yeah, we are hearing evacuations, mandatory evacuations, that is, that are going into effect in several cities. When you look at the models of the hurricane's path, I know you said yesterday it's looking similar today. It's going to go straight to eastern Texas and Louisiana, which will be the hardest hit areas. But what other areas can expect to feel the effects once this makes landfall?
All the way up the state of Louisiana, anything along the coast or the state line of Texas and Louisiana, as this will ride perfectly up those state lines. So much of the Pelican State here at Louisiana will deal with this. There's our future track model showing Hurricane Laura making landfall sometime just after midnight across the very western parts of Cameron Parish. And there is the state line of Louisiana and Texas on the other side. That eye wall will ride all the way up there, riding this all the way up to Shreveport. And as we go through the morning hours of tomorrow, this time tomorrow, there will be more tropical rain bands over this area and further off to the north that could deal with flash flooding further inland, more damaging winds, possibly as hurricane force winds, and also tornadoes will be an issue as well anywhere that lies east of the system. Fortunately for folks that are in Houston right now, they're sitting on the better side of this system. They will see some scattered storms from this. They will see some winds, but not nearly the catastrophic damage that is in line right now for areas such as Lake Charles and all across Cameron Parish.
Yeah, as you said, this system is intensifying right now. It's a race against the clock. How much time do you feel folks will have to protect their property and just to get out of the area?
Well, they need to leave now, unfortunately. That will be the case. I mean, it's just time to put everything down if they are trying to still get things done. Put everything down and get out now. Evacuation orders there. Most of them are voluntary evacuation orders. They're your hurricane wind probability, with most of the bullseye right over those areas. Again, we're looking at wind speeds where you're seeing this magenta color between probably 120 to 150 miles per hour when this thing makes landfall. Now, fortunately for our area here, we call it the Acadiana region, those wind probabilities for hurricane force winds, which are 74 miles per hour or more, will be falling off the further east you head. So areas such as Lafayette we'll see more winds in line of 60 to 70 to 75 miles per hour as a possible wind there as it comes in. But really, it's those areas to the very western parts of Louisiana that are under the gun for a extremely life-threatening event with some very, very dangerous winds and extremely life-threatening catastrophic storm surge. Look at the graph model showing almost 130 mile per hour winds early Thursday morning, still showing 50 to 80 mile per hour winds across such areas of Jeff Davis and Acadia Parish. And you can see with the color contour with this, there still will be some strong winds on the side of Texas there, but not nearly as intense as what they'll see right here in most of the state of Louisiana, especially the western parts there.
All right, Chris, we appreciate you tracking this for us and keeping us updated. We appreciate you time. As he said, you know, if you're in that area, get your things packed, leave, get to a safe place as we continue to track this. Now, one of the areas expected to see a big impact from Hurricane Laura is Lake Charles, Louisiana. That's where we find Dana Winter right now. Dana, how is the city handling evacuations at this hour?
Well, they are under a mandatory evacuation order here in Lake Charles, which is in Calcasieu Parish, which is really the entire area that's under this mandatory evacuation order. Now, yesterday, the city had its buses running until 8 o'clock at night, going and picking people up from bus stops, taking them to the Coliseum. From there, they transfer buses and be on another bus provided by the state of Louisiana, which took them to a shelter in a different city. Right now, though, we're not seeing too many people. There's quite a bit of a breeze, but it's nothing compared to what we're expecting to see later today. Here on the bridge, though, we're still seeing quite a few cars driving this early morning, afternoon time, and they may be going. Actually, as I was coming here, I saw a boarded up church, a boarded up gas station, and I saw what looked like a family packing some things and getting ready to leave as well. The mayor went on Facebook last night in a video and told people they need to evacuate if they've not already done so. He said his message is clear, his message is concise. Evacuate if you've not done so now. The fire chief came on after the mayor and told people that if they do choose to stay, they may be without emergency services during the storm. Fire chief telling everyone that emergency vehicles cannot get out after the winds pick up 40 miles per hour or more, and so people could be without help for 6 to possibly 8 hours. As far as evacuating goes, though, we've heard a mixed response from people. One family telling us they're not only evacuating themselves but their cows as well, saying they're more concerned about their livestock than their house. An older man, though, telling us with coronavirus happening, he's really worried about getting sick, and so he's choosing to stay here and ride out the storm. Reporting live in Lake Charles, I'm Dana Winter. Back to you.
Hey, Dana, real quick, you know, some areas are bracing for some power outages. What do we know about crews on standby to handle an event if that does occur because of Hurricane Laura?
Well, we've seen quite a few power crews here. We saw some in New Orleans as we were there, and then as we got here, I actually saw quite a few of them as I was making my way down through the hotel this morning. One of the guys who I spoke with said, you know, he is here, he's standing by, and while, you know, a lot of people are saying get out of the area, he says this is where they're needed, and so they're going to stand by, ready to respond should the power go out.
All right, Dana, thanks so much. Again, reporting for us in Louisiana there. Right now, today was the last day, and officials report more than 385,000 residents to basically flee the Texas cities of Beaumont, Port Arthur, and Galveston. Wes Rappaport takes a look at some last-minute preparations and where folks are going.
Food, we got noodles, we got clothes, we got hair clippers, underwear, we got socks.
Rodney Mason gathered his loved ones and their essentials with a goal to drive towards family in Austin.
They say it's time to go, it's time to go. Got to go.
Along the coast, people worked quickly to protect property and pets. Adam Ronk loaded his birds and headed inland.
I'd rather be safe than sorry. I've already got all of my stuff, you know, wrapped up in plastic and put up, so hopefully it won't get flooded.
Hundreds lined up in Galveston for a government-organized bus ride north. And just beyond the seawall, the staff at this 15-year-old Greek restaurant took down their flags and signage. Governor Greg Abbott says this storm will be damaging. He added more counties to his state disaster declaration, now above 50, as the state prepares for widespread power outages and wind damage.
We have only a few more hours for people to make sure they take the action that is needed to ensure their safety and the safety of their property.
And right now, I'd like to bring in Wes Rappaport from Galveston. Wes, thanks for joining us here on Newsfeed Now. Just watching your story, people like Rodney, there's a lot of them who they're evacuating. They're going to stay with family, but there are others who don't have family nearby. They need a place to stay in a hotel or a shelter. But what are their chances of finding a place? Because I'm seeing online here some hotels in Austin, for example, are no longer accepting vouchers, and even shelters are reaching full capacity.
Yeah, what we have heard, Suzanne, is that they are trying to shuffle some of those evacuees around. We have heard that some of the Austin area hotels are starting to fill up, and so some of the people that would be bound for Austin or who have arrived in Austin already may be rerouted to places like Mesquite, towards the Dallas area, even further north. So that is one option. We have also heard that there are folks who have the transportation up there but nowhere to stay, and so that's another wrinkle in this situation is people have the means to get out but not necessarily the means to stay somewhere. So lots to consider here for both local and state officials as well as individual folks trying to make the best decision for their families.
Yeah, where are these evacuation centers, and what are these centers exactly?
Yeah, so the one that I was posted up at here in Galveston is essentially a community center. Nobody's really going inside so much as, you form a line, you sign a piece of paper that has the information of you and your family, who's coming with you, you got any pets, who's along for the ride, do you have your own transportation or do you need transportation, do you have shelter or do you need shelter, and then you hop on a bus or you hop in your car and you go to where they tell you to go, or they bus you to one of the cities that has these partnerships with one of the evacuating cities, and that's sort of how the process was. We were it sounds somewhat organized, but also there was a little bit of that organized chaos feel. We saw a firefighter using a police car bullhorn and just shouting names out of people. Okay, you need to get on this bus, your party of 5 needs to get on this bus. So you have to be kind of close enough to listen, but also keeping your social distance. It was a little bit of that organized chaos.
Absolutely. The pandemic isn't making things easier for that situation. But I want to talk about current conditions right now. It looks windy out there. What are you seeing out there where you are?
Suzanne, it's been really a roller coaster so far, and I know we're still very, very early on in this process. We had some bands of rain earlier this morning. The wind significantly picked up, but even 5 minutes ago, the wind had died down. So somewhat riding that wind wave, as so to speak. Speaking of waves, I can show you the waves behind me. You can see that they are continuing to rise. They did not look like this 24 hours ago. Those white peaks were not here yesterday. So this jetty is slowly being covered up. Definitely would not recommend coming out here to swim for the folks who are watching this and who are in the area right now. This is a place where you do not want to be hanging out much longer as we wait for the storm to make its way closer to landfall. But we also have heard from folks who do plan to stick it out. They say that we're here. We didn't have too much damage the last storm. Thinking back to Ike and Rita, the other similar size storms that they've been talking about, and so they are it's somewhat of a mixed bag. You heard from folks like Rodney who are getting out, but we've also talked to people who said, I'm just willing to take the risks.
All right, Wes, thanks so much for bringing us the latest over there in Galveston. We appreciate your time. Of course, we will have the very latest on Hurricane Laura right here on our website. Thanks so much for joining us here on Newsfeed Now. Everybody stay safe. We'll see you back here tomorrow.